So you want to be consistent. I'm proud of you. That's beautiful. Seriously, it took me over 18 years to realize what consistency looked like, and it took me even longer to devise a three-prong approach for what consistency really is. Because so many people our age really don't know what consistency is. So what is it? Well, consistency is the idea of doing something again and again and again. Well, yeah, obviously, but that's the thing. It's doing something. It's an input, not an output. So many people base their consistency off of what they're getting. If it's the gym, it's how much weight they're losing or how much muscle they're putting on. If it's their job, it's how many clients they're getting or how much muscle they're building. If it's school, it's their grades. But that's the thing. If you look at school, your study habits and how consistent you are with studying has nothing to do with your grades. Sure, your grades go up, but if your grade goes down, that doesn't mean you are studying inconsistently, right? Consistency is based off of what you're doing. So if you go to the gym for a month and you go 5 days a week, that's about 20 days, give or take, right? I'm not a mathematician. I'm just some guy on a computer screen, right? So you're going for 20 days. Consistency is found in going on the weekdays, pausing on the weekends, going on the weekdays, etc. So consistency is what you're doing, going to the gym, lifting specific weights, and consistency in this realm doesn't care about how much muscle you build or how much weight you lose or how happy you are. And that's the thing. How do we become consistent? Because surely you want to be happy given that you're consistent. You want to be consistent because you imagine you're going to be happier with less stuff to worry about. But that's the next step, habits. But before I talk to you about habits, we need to learn how to actually be consistent, and it comes in 3 different steps. Step number 1, you need to want it. It doesn't matter what you want in life, but you need to want it. If you don't want a bad habit, then you need to not want it. Because consistency goes both ways. You can be consistently going to the gym, or you can be consistently going to McDonald's, or even worse, consistently going to the club, the strip club, or horrible websites. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So imagine you can take all those bad things, right, and turn them into good things to be consistent towards, and such that you actually wanted it. So if you want to go to the gym, you need to want to go to the gym. If you want to stop eating inappropriate foods, you need to stop wanting to do that. Seriously, you can really do anything in your life. If you want to make $1 million, you need to start with wanting to make $1 million. And that's where the consistency comes from. Step number 2, it needs to be easy. Seriously, making $1 million isn't necessarily hard, but if you're going to do it, surely at one point it's got to be easy, right? You have to have it figured out at one point. Maybe you want to go to the gym. Well, for some people, going to the gym is easy, and yet there's millionaires who have never touched weights in their life. So going to the gym isn't hard unless it's hard. And so you need to figure out, how can you make this easier for yourself, right? So far you need to want it, so you want to go to the gym. How can you make going to the gym easier? If you're going to look for gym memberships, find one that's cheap, find one that's close to you. There you go. Find someone to drive you so gas is cheaper. Find your own car to drive there so it's easier for you. You got to make it as easy as possible so it's impossible to fail. If you don't even want to go to the gym, maybe do some push-ups. It's not hard to do push-ups until it is hard. So make it easy. That's where you start. And when you start, you might not be very different from yourself, but you don't measure consistency on how different you are. You measure consistency on what you're doing. So eventually, as you're going to learn from habits, which I'm going to talk about later in this video, you're going to be going from here to way over there. And you're going to be infinitely more successful than who you are today, because you're going to be infinitely different given your consistency, not your rewards. And then finally, the last thing, right? You wanted it to be easy, and now you need to reward yourself. You need to get something from it. After all, what's the point of consistency if you're not doing anything? And yes, consistency is based off of what you're inputting, but a large part of it, and a large part of where we judge it, comes from what we're getting. So the grades for the student who's studying, he's studying consistently, but he got a bad grade. So maybe he needs to study more, and maybe that studying needs to be refined. And so not only you need to want something, it needs to be easy enough for you to do it, but you need to have an incentive. So going to the gym, you want bigger muscles, or you want to lose weight, you want a slimmer waist. You need to find a way to convince yourself that you're getting something from it. Think of a bad habit. Think of like something you wouldn't want to do, right? Let's say you're overeating. Well, the reward in that case, the detriment, the consequence is that you're gaining weight or you're having an unhealthy body, which is bad for all sorts of reasons. And so even if you want to eat food, even if it's easy to eat food, well, it's a horrible incentive, right? And so when those 3 things are together, you really can't be consistent. And this can actually work good for you. I know you're sitting there going, Nolan, how can this be a benefit for me? But again, think of the bad habits. Let's say you were addicted to lustful content on the internet. Well, you want it. It's really easy because you can just go on your phone and there you go, you have it in your hand. But What if it's like a bad incentive, which it is? What if all of a sudden it was harder to get access to the content, or all of a sudden you didn't want to get access to the content? Well, surely that habit or whatever you're being consistent in is going to stop. And that really brings me on to the next step, because I've talked about it enough already, so it's time to dive into it. Habits. So what exactly is a habit? Well, a habit is something you're really consistent in to the point that you don't have to think about it. I'm going to go back to this gym. So you're going to the gym, and again and again and again, and you're being consistent. But what if you went to the gym every day for 10 years straight, guaranteed? Would you go tomorrow? Probably. Not because you're some sort of consistent mastermind, not because you have this insane willpower, but because it's habitual. And a habit is something that takes it out of your conscious and puts it into your subconscious, like chewing your nails or rubbing your hair or rubbing your eyes, because your brain doesn't want to concern itself with it. Your brain already knows it's going to happen, and so it focuses on new things because your consciousness is the bottleneck of the brain. You can only focus on so much, and that's why, like I said earlier, you're going to really veer off from your current self compared to your future self, because you're going to be consistent in something, right? Maybe it's the gym, maybe it's eating properly, maybe it's, I don't know, just being a nicer human being to people. It could be whatever. And then you're going to get used to being consistent in that specific object, that specific realm, that specific thing, right? And then it's going to become habitual. So you're not only going to stop thinking about it, but you're going to have more attention, more energy to think about the next thing. So maybe you start with the gym. Well, now you're going to look at your grades. Or if you're starting with your grades, then you're going to look at your gym. But that's only given that it becomes a habit. So if you're going to the gym for 10 years straight every morning, you're going to go tomorrow morning, and now you have enough attention to focus on your grades or finances or whatever it be. So because of that, you are consistent, and then you can do another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing. And when you look up at it, you're in a completely different spot from where you've started. You're the same person, but you're doing different things because you're used to do different things. And that's why I said earlier in the video, it's possible for it to be easy to make $1 million, because all of a sudden when you have all these habits, all of a sudden you're not thinking about it. Millionaires have a lot of habits that include money saving, investing, they know the right places, and they have the proper systems. If it was easy, they wanted to do it, and there was a reward, then obviously it became consistent. And given that it was consistent long enough, it became a habit. And again, you just have to be wise, because some habits are bad and some are good, but that's for you to really determine, because if it's your life, you know what you want, and you can do anything. If you want to be an NBA player, then there's going to be good and bad habits associated with that. If you want to be some finance bro, then of course, there's going to be good and bad habits associated with that. But that's all. Now you know how to be consistent, and now you know exactly how consistency and habits work individually. And I do apologize for all my mess ups. It's been a really long day and I'm tired. So do me a favor, do all the YouTube nonsense, maybe leave a comment for some feedback, because I myself do want to improve, and sit tight. In the next few weeks or whenever, this huge project I'm working on is going to launch. I can't tell you too much about it, but I will tell you it's based off of Bible-centered and Christ-centered self-improvement. So it's legit. I'm going to make you super strong, super smart, and most importantly, you're going to glorify God through all of it by becoming more spiritual for the sake of the Lord. Because ultimately, that's what this all is, just to glorify God. And that brings me to this. I love you. I really do. I'm proud of you. But God loves you more, and he's infinitely more proud than I could ever be. I'll see you tomorrow.